What if the person who changed how the world connects was once invisible? What if one quiet boy, sitting alone in his room, had no idea that his thoughts would one day reach millions of people? What if feeling different was not a weakness, but the beginning of something powerful? This story is not just about Mark Zuckerberg. This story is also about you. There was a time when Mark was not confident. He was not popular. He was not loud. He was curious, always asking questions in his mind. Curious means wanting to know why and how, even when no one else cares. He was often isolated, alone, not because he hated people, but because he felt different. Isolated means feeling separate, like you don't fully belong. Late at night, while others were sleeping, his room stayed quiet but alive. The glow of a screen, the sound of keys, thoughts moving faster than words. People around him did not see a leader. They saw a strange kid, too quiet, too focused, too obsessed. Yes, obsessed. Obsessed means thinking deeply about one thing again and again, not because you were forced to, but because you love it. And many underestimated him. To be underestimated means people think you are less capable than you really are. Maybe you know this feeling. You try to speak English, but your voice feels small. You have ideas, but the words don't come out right. People don't hear your effort, they only hear your mistakes. So you stay quiet. You listen more than you speak. You practice alone. You learn in silence. But silence is not empty. Silence is where strength is built. Mark did not change the world by being the loudest person in the room. He changed it by listening, thinking, building. This video is not a lesson. It is a journey. As you listen, your English will grow naturally, not by memorizing rules, but by feeling the story, by understanding emotions, by hearing simple, real English used with purpose. By the end, you may not only understand English better, you may understand yourself better. Because before the world hears a voice, that voice is first whispered in silence. And before success is seen, it is quietly prepared, late at night, by someone the world has not noticed yet. Mark Zuckerberg's story did not begin with big stages or loud applause. It began quietly, in a normal home, in a small room filled with books, puzzles, and questions. As a child, Mark was not the kind of boy who tried to impress others. He did not need attention. What he needed was understanding. His parents noticed something early. Mark was deeply focused. When he liked something, he went deep into it, very deep. He loved books, not storybooks only, but books that made his brain work. Math problems, logic puzzles, games that required thinking, patience, and patterns. While other children played outside, Mark often stayed inside, not because he was lonely, but because his mind felt alive there. He enjoyed solving problems, he enjoyed finding answers, and most of all, he enjoyed learning how things worked. This made him different. In school, Mark was smart, but not popular. Teachers saw his intelligence. Other students did not always see him. He spoke less. He observed more. Sometimes being quiet makes people think you are weak. Sometimes being different makes people uncomfortable. But Mark did not try to change himself to fit in. Instead, he went deeper into what he loved. At home, there was encouragement. His parents supported his curiosity. They didn't force him to be like others. They gave him space to grow in his own way. This is important because learning, real learning, needs space. It needs time, and it needs curiosity. Mark did not learn because he was afraid of exams. He learned because he was interested. This is how progress really happens. When Mark discovered computers, something clicked inside him.
A computer was not just a machine, it was a puzzle, a challenge, a new world waiting to be explored. He could sit for hours, trying things, breaking things, fixing them again. No pressure, no audience, just curiosity. And this quiet habit shaped his future. Now pause for a moment and think about yourself. How are you learning English? Are you learning because you love the language or because you feel forced? Here is a powerful lesson from Mark's childhood. Curiosity grows faster than pressure. Mark learned by reading what he loved. You can do the same in English. If you like technology, read simple tech stories in English. If you like success stories, listen to slow English podcasts about real people. If you like stories, learn English through stories like this one. You don't need difficult grammar books at the beginning. You need interest. When you enjoy something, your brain stays open, words stay longer, confidence grows naturally. Mark didn't rush. He didn't compare his journey to others. He trusted his pace. And that is something many English learners forget. You don't need to sound perfect. You need to stay curious. Mark's childhood teaches us this. Being quiet does not mean being weak. Being different does not mean being wrong. Learning slowly does not mean failing. Sometimes the quietest beginnings create the strongest futures. And sometimes the child who speaks the least has the most to say later.
As Mark grew older, something became clear. The world around him was getting louder, but he was still quiet. School hallways were full of noise, laughter, jokes, confident voices. Mark often walked through them feeling unseen. He was smart, but intelligence did not always help him connect with people. Other students talked about sports, trends, and parties. Mark thought about ideas, systems, and problems to solve. This gap made him feel different. Sometimes being different feels exciting, but sometimes it feels heavy. There were moments when Mark felt like he didn't belong anywhere. He was not part of the popular group, not part of the loud group, not even part of any group, just alone. Loneliness is not always about being physically alone. It is about feeling misunderstood. Mark didn't hate people. He simply didn't know how to enter their world. Inside his mind, thoughts were clear, but when it came time to speak, words stayed stuck. Fear slowly appeared. Fear of saying the wrong thing. Fear of sounding strange. Fear of being judged. This fear made him even quieter, and with silence came self-doubt. He started asking questions silently. Why can't I be like them? Why is talking so easy for others? Is something wrong with me? These are dangerous questions, because when we repeat them, they start to shape our identity. But something important was happening inside Mark. Even while feeling lonely, a quiet confidence was growing. He knew he could build things. He knew he could create value. He didn't need applause. He needed purpose. And this inner fire kept him moving forward. Now listen carefully, because this part of the story is very close to many English learners. When you are learning English, you may feel the same way. You understand more than you can say. You want to speak, but fear stops you. You may think, I felt like I didn't belong. I was afraid to speak. I didn't want people to laugh. These sentences are simple, but they are powerful. They allow you to express emotions clearly in English. And here is something that can change your journey. Write your feelings in English. Not long essays, just short, honest sentences. Every night, write 1 or 2 lines. Today, I felt nervous speaking English. I was afraid, but I tried. I didn't speak much, but I listened. This is not homework. This is self-connection. Mark didn't suddenly become confident. He didn't magically fit in, but he stopped fighting who he was. He accepted his quiet nature, and instead of trying to talk more, he decided to build more.
This choice changed everything. Loneliness didn't disappear, but it transformed. It became focus. It became energy. It became direction. Mark learned something important during this emotional low point. You don't need to be loud to be strong. You don't need to fit in to move forward. And you don't need perfect English to begin speaking. You only need honesty and courage, one sentence at a time.
For a long time, Mark struggled to express himself with words. But then he found another way to speak: a computer screen. To many people, coding looks cold and technical, just lines of text, just numbers and symbols. But for Mark, coding felt warm. It felt personal. It felt like a language that finally understood him. When he wrote code, he didn't need to explain himself to anyone. The computer didn't judge. It didn't interrupt. It didn't laugh. It only responded. If the code worked, the idea worked. If it didn't, Mark fixed it. Simple, clear, honest. This was powerful, because for the first time, Mark felt heard without speaking. Coding became his voice. He could create things, programs, tools, small systems that did something useful. Every time something worked, confidence grew quietly inside him. Not the loud kind of confidence, the deep kind. While others expressed themselves with jokes and stories, Mark expressed himself with logic and structure. And slowly, something changed. He no longer felt invisible. He felt capable. Coding gave him control over ideas, control over outcomes, control over his own world. And here's the most important part. Coding is a language, just like English. When you learn a language, at first, everything feels confusing. You make mistakes. Nothing works. But then, one sentence works, one line makes sense, and suddenly you want to try again. Mark didn't memorize code. He used it. He built things, broke them, improved them. This is exactly how English should be learned. Not by fear, not by perfection, but by use. Think about it. Coding teaches you to practice daily. English needs daily practice too. Coding teaches you to learn by building things. English grows when you use it in real life. Coding teaches you that mistakes are normal. English is the same. Mark made many mistakes, but he didn't hide them. He fixed them, and every fix made him stronger. Here is a powerful lesson for your English journey. Don't memorize English. Build with it. Speak simple sentences. Write short messages. Comment. Explain ideas, even badly. This is how fluency is born. Mark learned coding through interest. You can learn English the same way. If you love technology, watch English coding tutorials. If you love ideas, watch English YouTube explainers. If you love stories, listen to slow English stories. When learning is connected to interest, fear disappears. Coding also taught Mark something else. Confidence doesn't come from talking more. It comes from creating value. And when you create value, people listen. Mark didn't suddenly become social. He became respected. Because skills speak louder than words. And over time, words follow skills. For English learners, this is important. You don't need perfect pronunciation to matter. You don't need advanced vocabulary to be heard. You need purpose. Use English to talk about what you care about. Use English to explain your ideas. Use English to build something, slowly, just like Mark used code. Coding didn't just change Mark's future, it changed how he saw himself. He was no longer the quiet kid. He was a builder. And builders don't stay silent forever. They eventually find a way to be heard. Getting into Harvard is a dream for many people. For Mark, it was also a shock. Suddenly, he was surrounded by some of the smartest young minds in the world, people who spoke confidently, people who seemed sure of themselves, people who had already won competitions, built projects, and achieved big things. And for the first time in a long time, Mark felt small again. At Harvard, being smart was normal. Being different was harder. Every classroom was full of talent. Every conversation felt like a comparison. Mark started asking himself a dangerous question. Am I good enough to be here? This question can quietly destroy confidence, because when you compare yourself constantly, you stop seeing your own progress. During the day, Mark attended classes. He listened. He observed. At night, when the campus became quiet, he returned to what he knew best: coding, building, creating. While others were socializing or sleeping, Mark stayed up late, alone in his dorm room, laptop open, mind racing. These nights were not glamorous. They were full of doubt. Sometimes his code worked. Sometimes it didn't. Sometimes he felt excited. Sometimes he felt exhausted. Fear followed him. Fear of failure. Fear of wasting time. Fear of not becoming anything special. But even in fear, he kept going. This is important. Mark didn't feel confident every day. He felt uncertain most days, but he didn't stop. Now, let's pause and look at this moment from your life. If you are learning English, you may feel this pressure too. You watch others speak fluently. You see people online with perfect accents, and you think, they are better than me. I started too late. I will never catch up. This is Harvard pressure in another form. Here is something Mark quietly practiced during this time, something you can use in English. When you feel small, you don't need big sentences. You need honest sentences. Simple patterns like, I don't know yet, but I'm learning. I'm not perfect, but I will try. I feel nervous, but I won't stop. These sentences are not weak. They are strong. They show growth. They show courage. Mark didn't try to prove himself to everyone. He focused on improving himself. He trusted late nights. He trusted slow progress. And slowly, confidence returned, not from praise, but from persistence. Harvard didn't make Mark fearless. It made him real. He learned that even the most talented people feel doubt. They just hide it better. This realization was powerful, because when you understand that doubt is normal, it stops controlling you. Mark accepted pressure as part of growth. He didn't run from it, and that choice prepared him for what was coming next, because soon an idea would begin to form. Not a big idea, not a famous idea, just a small thought, born in a dorm room late at night, surrounded by fear, curiosity, and quiet determination. Every big change in the world begins quietly, not with applause, not with headlines, but with a small idea that refuses to go away. For Mark, that idea was born in his dorm room. The room was simple: a bed, a desk, a laptop. No team, no investors, no clear future. Just one question: why is it so hard for people to connect here? Harvard was full of people, but real connection felt rare. Mark noticed something. Students wanted to know each other. They wanted to see faces, names, information. But everything was scattered. So he started thinking, not about changing the world, not about building a company, just about solving a problem. That's how real ideas begin. Mark didn't say, I want to create something big. He said, I want to fix something small. Late at night, he began writing code, testing, changing, thinking. There was no guarantee this would work. There was no applause, only silence and doubt. He asked himself, is this useful? Does this matter? Will anyone care? These questions are familiar. English learners ask similar things. Is my English good enough? Do my words make sense? Should I even try? Mark didn't wait for confidence. He acted first. This is a powerful lesson. Confidence comes after action, not before. The idea in that dorm room was simple. It wasn't perfect, it wasn't complete, but it was real, and that was enough. Here's an important message for you. Big dreams start with small sentences. Fluent English doesn't start with speeches, it starts with simple thoughts. I want to learn. I want to improve. I want to speak better. These sentences matter. Mark began with a simple intention. I want to build something useful. You can begin the same way in English. Try saying your dreams out loud, even if they sound small. Use frames like, I want to build. I want to become. I believe one day I will. These are not just English sentences. They are commitments. When you say something, your brain listens. Mark's idea didn't feel safe, but comfort doesn't create growth. He stayed in that dorm room, choosing effort over comfort, night after night. No success yet, no recognition, just progress. And progress is invisible at first. That is why many people quit. But Mark didn't. He trusted the process. He trusted the work. And most importantly, he trusted himself enough to continue, even without proof. This moment is important because it shows something deeply human. Great things don't begin with confidence. They begin with courage. And courage is quiet, just like a learner whispering English sentences alone in a room, just like a student practicing without applause. The idea was still fragile, still unknown, but it was alive. And soon, Mark would face a choice between fear and comfort, a choice that every learner, every dreamer must face. Every meaningful journey reaches a moment of tension, a moment where the heart feels heavy, where the mind whispers excuses. Mark had reached that moment. The idea existed now, the work had begun, but with it came a new fear. What if this fails? What if people laugh? What if I'm not ready? Fear is strange. It grows louder when you are close to something important. Mark could have chosen comfort. He could have stayed quiet, stayed invisible, stayed safe. Comfort meant no judgment, no risk, no embarrassment. But comfort also meant staying the same. And deep inside, Mark knew something. If he stayed silent now, he would regret it later. This was not just a technical decision, it was a personal one. Fear pulled him back, curiosity pushed him forward, and in between there was discomfort. This is the same inner battle English learners face every day. You know the words, you understand the sentence, but then comes the moment to speak. Your heart beats faster, your mind says not now, maybe later. What if I make a mistake? So, you stay quiet. That silence feels comfortable for a moment, but later it feels heavy. Mark understood something important during this phase. Growth feels uncomfortable. Staying the same feels safe, but empty. He didn't suddenly stop feeling afraid. He chose to move with fear. That choice changed everything. Fear didn't disappear, but it lost its power, because action weakens fear.
The more Mark worked, the less fear controlled him. This is a powerful lesson for English. You don't wait to feel confident before speaking. You speak even when confidence is missing. Here is a simple, practical English exercise you can start today. Speak for 60 seconds every day. Not perfectly, not beautifully, just honestly. Choose one topic: your day, your feelings, your goals. Record yourself on your phone. No correction, no listening again. Just speak. This exercise is not about grammar. It is about fluency. Mark didn't wait until everything was perfect. He started before he was ready, and that is why he moved forward. Comfort keeps you silent. Fear challenges you, but action builds you. Mark chose action, and that decision prepared him for something bigger. Not success yet, but understanding. Understanding that fear is not a stop sign, it is a direction, and the path forward is always through it.
Before success arrived, life had already taught Mark some powerful lessons. Lessons that didn't come from winning, but from waiting, from trying, from failing quietly. The first lesson was simple. Curiosity beats talent. Mark was not the loudest student, not the most confident speaker, but he stayed curious. Curiosity pushed him to explore ideas deeper, to ask better questions, to keep learning, even when no one was watching. In English learning, curiosity works the same way. When you are curious, you don't fear mistakes. You want to understand more. You want to try again. The second lesson was unexpected. Silence can be powerful. Mark's quiet nature was never a weakness. It allowed him to observe, to think, to build. Silence gave him clarity. For English learners, silence is often misunderstood. Silence does not mean failure. It means preparation. Listening carefully builds understanding. Understanding builds confidence. The third lesson came from effort. Skills give confidence. Mark didn't wake up confident one day. Confidence came from hours of practice, from building something real. In the same way, English confidence comes from use. Speaking badly, writing simply, trying again. Confidence is not a feeling first, it is a result. And the final lesson was about identity. Voice is built, not born. Mark was not born with a strong voice. He built it slowly, through curiosity, through persistence, through belief. Now let's connect these lessons to 4 powerful words. Confidence. Confidence grows when you keep going, even without proof. Curiosity. Curiosity keeps learning alive. Persistence. Persistence means not stopping when progress is slow. Vision. Vision means seeing who you can become even before others do. Use these words in your own emotional sentences. I am building my confidence. I stay curious about English. I will be persistent even when it's hard. I have a vision for my future. Mark learned these lessons before success, before fame, before the world listened. And these lessons mattered more than success itself, because success can disappear, but lessons stay, and they prepare you for what comes next. Now, let me speak directly to you. If you are learning English and feeling afraid to speak, this part of the story is for you. If you feel shy when opening your mouth, if your heart beats fast before saying a sentence, if you worry about your accent, your grammar, your mistakes, you are not weak. You are becoming. Mark once felt the same kind of fear, not with English, but with his voice. And here is something important you must hear. Your accent is not a problem. It is proof of effort. Your mistakes are not failures, they are signs of progress. Your story is not late, it is just beginning. Many people wait for confidence before they speak. That day never comes. Confidence comes after you speak. Speak badly, speak slowly, speak with mistakes, but speak. If you feel invisible right now, remember this: invisible work creates visible results. Every sentence you practice alone matters. Every time you listen carefully, your brain grows. You don't need to sound like a native speaker. You need to sound like yourself. Let me give you a very simple English roadmap. No pressure, no stress, just consistency. Listen daily, even 10 minutes. Stories, podcasts, slow English. Speak badly, every day, 1 minute, no correction. Improve slowly, 1 word better than yesterday. Stay consistent, that's the real secret. Mark didn't rush his voice, he built it. You can too. 1 sentence at a time, 1 day at a time. And one day you will realize something surprising. You are no longer afraid. Not because fear disappeared, but because you moved forward anyway. Mark Zuckerberg's story, at this moment, was still quiet. No headlines, no interviews, no applause. Just a young man in a small room late at night staring at a screen, thinking, building, preparing. The world did not know his name yet, but something important had already changed. He was no longer invisible to himself. He had learned to trust curiosity, to move through fear, to build a voice without shouting. And this is where we pause the story, because soon the world would hear that voice. Soon that small idea would leave the dorm room. Soon connection would look different for millions of people. But that is another story. For now, remember this: every strong voice begins in silence. Every confident speaker starts with broken sentences. Every big future grows from small, quiet steps. If you are learning English, your moment is not missing, it is forming. Late at night, in practice, in effort no one sees. And one day, when you speak without fear, you will remember this time and realize it mattered more than you ever knew. The world will hear your voice too, but not yet. First, you build it. Calmly, quietly, consistently. And when it's ready, your story will continue.